Good afternoon, everybody.
Namaste, sir.
Namaskar.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
ସାର୍ ନମସ୍କାର।
Namaskar.
ସାର୍ ନମସ୍କାର।
Namaskar.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. এটা এটা নিয়ে যাও এটা। ଆଉ ଚା ରଖିନ 5ଟା ବେଳକୁ ଦବ ଟିକେ। ହୁଁ। ତଳ କବାଟଟା ଦେଇ ଦେଇଛ ତ? ମିତାଲି ଖୋଲୁଥିବ ଗଛ ନଉଥିଲା। So shall we start? Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So Midnight's Children is a new age novel, which is written by an expatriate, a person from India but staying abroad, an immigrant novelist, immigration, and it talks about the history of freedom struggle, the reality of India in the post-independence times, especially 1980s, and written in a satiric way. Salman Rushdie uses the method of magic realism to discuss the realities of Indian life during this time. So you have already seen how Raja Rao has talked about in idealistic way. He has talked about Gandhian way of idealistic way of satyagraha and other things. And in a way, he is trying to make an idealization of the methods which were undertaken by the leaders of the time to emancipate India from the clutches of the British rule. But Rushdie is a different kind of writer. And then you saw Anita Desai, how she talks about the realities of life. But Anita Desai is not a broadly socialistic kind of writer. She talks about society, but from the person, from certain selected categories of person's point of view. So hers is a method of stream of consciousness novel, which depicts the inner recesses of the mind of characters. Whatever happens in the minds of a character, whatever he or she goes on thinking at a point of time in history or in her life or his life, that becomes the subject matter of her fiction. So it's a stream of consciousness novel that she writes, and clear light of day, you see how whatever is happening in the mind of Bimala or Beam comes to be noted down by the writer. And highly autobiographical, and the subjective experience becomes more important than the general broad social experiences of a writer. From that point of view, you don't have a broad canvas of society which has been picturized in the novel. Uh, and as you know, Raja Rao, you can say R.K. Narayan, Raja Rao, Molk Rajanand, they're very realistic kind of writers, realistic. Anita Desai was psychological, highly psychological. But here comes a person, Salman Rushdie, in 1947, born in 1947, but he came to prominence in the 1980s with the publication of Midnight Children in 1980, I think. Yes. So he wrote from a different perspective altogether. He gave a new dynamic, a new form, a paradigm change to the construction of a novel. He didn't talk in a very realistic term. Rather, he made a caricature of the realism. The main character Salim in this novel, the protagonist, the hero, Salim is a kind of character who has fractured memories. He doesn't remember things clearly, and he's a product of sexual violence because a Britisher seduces, or you can say it violently unites with another lady. Lady's name is Bonita. Seduction of Bonita. Seduction is a kind of sex which is not actually mutual consent. It is forcible, forced sex. Rather, it is not legal. It's a properly consummated union of a husband and a wife. So Salim is a product of such a violent sexual affair between Methold, Methwold. Methold is the Englishman, the British colonizer. So it's a symbolic name. It's a symbolic name, Methold. Like all the fiction writers, they use symbolic names of places, symbolic. Just I was telling you that Raja Rao's Kanthapura is a village. It's not a real village. It's a mythical village. It's a fictional village. Hardis Wessex is a fictional village. Malgudi is a fictional town in South India. There is no town. You might, if anybody among you has gone to South India, there is no city called Malgudi. It is it is a fictional name. That is the beauty. That is the beauty of writing. That through a fictional town, you create such characters move in the corpus of that fictional town or fictional village that it appears to be real, and through the story you come to see the entire drama of human struggle or human whatever happens among the human beings in a society that comes to be enacted through the fiction, and you read that and you empathize with the characters, you identify yourself with the characters, you enjoy the novel, reading the novel, because you feel as if your story has been described in the novel. So Midnight Children is first of the Bombay novels set in Bombay, which have become quite common now. It has become a trendsetter since 1980s, uh, centered in Bombay. So he made Bombay the place from which he could write Bombay, and I think another place is the two places which he concentrates his writing on these places. So snapshots of Bombay are there, a lot of picturization of the city. Um, so you can say that it was a metro-centric novel. Metros, Bombay is a metro, and very soon your Bhubaneswar is also going to be metro. Metro, metro doesn't only mean say metro train and metro. Metro means big cities, big cities. His first novel that came into prominence and got the Writers' Prize, Commonwealth Writers' Prize for the best book, The Ground Beneath Her Feet. Then there are many other novels, but the most important or the magnum opus, you can say. Have you heard the word magnum opus? MAGNUM, magnum opus, OPUS. Magnum opus means the most important writing of a writer. Maybe a book of poetry, maybe a fiction,
The
Maybe
most important, yeah, most auspicious or precious writing.
precious. What?
Precious.
Precious.
Yes.
Not precious, not precious. Exactly. Everything is precious. Precious means valuable. No, the most important writing, the hallmark, whatever the signature novel. That is, you go to big hotels and you say, "What is your signature item?" Say, we have those. We our signature item is chicken biryani. Signature item. Signature item means that item which is the most important item of that hotel.
Okay, sir.
So,
Okay. Understood.
so magnum opus means the most important writing of a person. That writing which gives recognition to that person. The person, in other words, is identified through that novel. Shakespearean tragedies of Shakespeare are his magnum opus. Tennyson's magnum opus is In Memoriam. T.S. Eliot's The Four Quartets and The Westland. Similarly, Raja Rao Kanthapura. Or you can say Raja Rao, yes. Anita Desai, you can say it differs. Very difficult. But Midnight Children was a trend changing, trend setting novel. It was a product of a highly fertile genius of Salman Rushdie, who has inhabited both the lands, India and foreign land, England and other countries, foreign countries, and who has tried to think about India very objectively from a distance. Because all these immigrant or migrant writers or diasporic writers who go outside the country and write from abroad, they have mostly a from a distance they look at the homeland, and that is how the writing tends to be more objective, because you are inside the land and you write about your own land. You are staying with your father and you write about your father. That cannot be that much objective. But you go to a place from where you think about your father living at a great distance and you write about your father. That will be an objective writing. So all the good things and bad things of the, or whatever things what you find out, yeah, the defects as well as the merits of the father, you can visualize from a distance better. But when I living with somebody, you cannot know the you cannot discuss him very objectively. That is the thing. When because these are writings which are written from a distance, from objective point of view. Because thinking about India and writing about India from a place where you are far off from the place, that would be more objective, I think. That is how the diasporic writers present versions of the country which are more objective than the inlanders, than the persons who are staying inside and writing about the country. So Salman Rushdie was born on August 15th, 1947, the birth date of his protagonist. The novel's hero is Salim, Salim. Salim. You can write down the name. You should write the name correctly. All the names and places, whatever you're writing in the examination, you should write correctly. Otherwise, what happens if you are not correct in your English, in writing your names and places and your sentences, whatever you're writing, not correct, then you're not going to get marks. That creates a very bad impression. Suppose Salim, you write Salim. Salim, actual spelling is Saleem. If you're not familiar, if you are not very particular about it, if you write a little you change it, you distort it, or you write the wrong kind of spelling, you are not going to be awarded good marks because the examiner will carry a bad impression about you. What this fellow writing the answer, he doesn't know, he doesn't know the spelling of the word Salim. All Salman Rushdie, Rushdie Rushdie. Salman Salman. These spellings, I as a teacher tell you to be very specific about the correctness of the spelling of these things, which when you are attempting your answers in the whether in the objective in the internet mode, or you can appear. Somebody was writing here that you can appear both ways. You can appear offline examinations, you can appear online examinations. But whatever the examinations are, whether it is online or offline, doesn't matter. You should be correct. Correctness is your passport to success. If you are correct in your English and you are not very critical about your writing, then also you'll get good marks. So what you may be very simple sentences, and you are writing, but you are writing correctly. That is very important. So Rushdie started writing in a new mode, and that new mode has been described differently by different critics. And as you know, um, earlier Indian novels were usually set in small towns or villages. You can recall Malgudi of Harkanaren, or you can say Kantapura of Raja Rao, and so Anita Desai also writes about cities. Anita Desai, I think, writes about Calcutta. Voices in the City, Anita Desai writes about Calcutta. Not small village. Calcutta is a metro. But Rushdie takes pride in locating the familiar landmarks of Bombay by name, thus striking on immediate and autobiographical sense of identification with the reader. Um, Especially with Bombay, those Bombayites, or those people who live in Bombay or metros. Rushdie wrote about Bombay, not about a village or a small town. Wouldn't I have been easy? It have been easier to write about something everybody was writing about. Um, for Rushdie, Bombay is very special. It is his metaphor for a cosmopolitan Indian city. Cosmopolitan means all in Odisha we have Rourkela, the cosmopolitan city. Sunabada is a cosmopolitan city. Even these are cities where different places of India and abroad. You can get Telugu people, Kannada people, Hindi people, as Northeast people, Odia people, Bengali people. So all varieties of people from different states of India, they conglomerate and they live in such places. Rourkela is a cosmopolitan town. Sunabada, to some extent, is a cosmopolitan town. May not be very big, but it has a cosmopolitan culture. Cosmopolitan means where people from different places of the country come to stay. So Bombay is a cosmopolitan city where people of all religions live and mingle together freely. It is the city that, according to him, represents a multicultural, multi-religious Indian society. And you know there were there are strains of fundamentalism in India. There was rather strains of fundamentalism in India in the post-independence times. Fundamentalism means the communal feelings between Hindus and Muslims. Mohish Dattani, you will be reading his drama, which is the Final Solutions. Final Solution also talks about that fundamentalism
Sir, I have read
And
that.
you have read it.
Yes, sir.
Very good. So that is what actually is a fact. And only a few months back, you must have marked how there is stone pelting from the top of mosques in Delhi, and Toghlaq Road was blocked. Is that so? Sometimes these elements of fundamentalism raise their ugly heads in India, and these metropolitan cities become the victims to such fundamental activities. And you know about the attacks in Mumbai, Taj Hotel, the terrorist attacks. So that is not exactly fundamentalism; that is terrorism. And again, that points back to the fundamentalism that was there in the pre-independent India. That has become an extreme form, and the extreme form is terrorism. Born to Muslim parents, Rushdie did not create a pure Muslim character who reads the Quran daily or visits the mosque. You see, in a sense, he's not a strictly orthodox Muslim. And as you know, his satanic verses is anti-fundamental kind of writing for which fatwa was against him, and the Iranian king wanted to kill him, shoot him. So he is not he is not an orthodox Muslim in the sense that not a fundamentalist. Rather, he is a kind of secular Muslim. His main character Salim is partly Hindu, partly Goan, partly Kashmiri, partly Muslim, partly British. Look how many identities one person has. Salim is neither Hindu nor totally Muslim. He is partly Muslim, partly British because Methold had seduced Banita, a lady, and the product was Salim. Salim is a character or is a child of different identities, multicultural, multi-religious identities. Salim represents the multi-layered identities the of the place that he belongs to. The intermingling of the different races which constitute the India that Rushdie adores. We cannot go back in terms of historical backward journey. We cannot go back to the times when there were pure this, pure that. You can't go back to such notions of purity anymore. We have to be hybridized. We are all eating hybridized fruits and vegetables, and we have also become hybridized nation because the moment after partition, all the people, all the Muslims could not go back to Pakistan. All the Indians, Hindus could not come back to India. So as a result, there was intermingling. There was also marriages among Muslim boys and girls. You know, Bikram Seth writes about that kind of how a Muslim girl gets married to Indian boy, the suitable boy. Bikram Seth, for which he got an award. So these things are not only in fiction. These things are happening in reality also. I know many people. Many Hindu boys who have married Muslim girls and some Muslim boys who have married Hindu girls. You forget about the complexities that can come through those such marriages, but to some extent, this is a reality. And Midnight Children was to make a clean break from the metaphysical Hindu worldview of Indian English fiction. This paradigm shift that he executed makes him a seminal writer at a time when nothing new was expected from the Indian novel. Since it had last attracted attention in the 1960s, his influence in the writing that has followed since has been tremendous. It has opened the ways to novels about protagonist. He belonged to the minority communities, Parsis, Christians, Sikhs, Jews. This was never so in the pre 1980 Indian English novels. So he doesn't project a totally Hindu worldview of life as it was there. The metaphysical Hindu worldview was projected by Raja Rao and Mulk Rajanand, others. This is a different path-breaking novel in the sense that it brought different the problems of the hybridity of culture, hybridity of origin, of racial origin, hybrid. Father will be English, mother will be Bengali, or different types of, and this hybridization has been going on. Um, Rushdie left Bombay at the age of 14 to study at Rugby in England. It was there he tested his first bitter experience of racism when one of the boys with whom shared his study wrote, "Oaks, go home," on the wall over his chair. So hot. That was a very dirty term, Oaks, go home. So hot was Rushdie that he never wanted to return to England after that. But in 1967, his parents migrated to Pakistan. So he spent some time there after the completion of his school education. So he has stayed in India, he stayed in England, he has stayed in Pakistan. His parents finally persuaded him to join King's College in Cambridge, and he returned to England for study for his graduate degree with history as the subject of his specialization. After graduation, so he studied history at Cambridge University, and then while in England, as a stage actor and as a copywriter in an advertising firm. Meanwhile, he was also very seriously working at becoming a writer. So, dreaming of pursuing writing as the profession comes to very few people. Because in India, if you are just a writer and you are doing nothing else, it's very difficult to earn your bread. To make a living out of writing is difficult. But this is not the same case with people in different other advanced countries or the first world. The first world, in the first world, if you're a good writer, you'll get a lot of money, and writing will actually give you your bread and butter. So there in England, his first novel was not Midnight Children, but Grimace, a work of science fiction. It was written for a contest organized by Golanch, a publishing house. So he wrote his first novel. The novel was ripped apart by critics, and Rosdet felt deeply hurt by the rejection. So rejection is a stepping stone to success. Many promising writers, very famous writers, even Nobel laureates, initially when they write, publishers have rejected the writings. But subsequently, the same writer comes to eminence and he becomes very successful because of his writing. The critics come to realize the worth of their work afterwards. I have read many writers of eminence who have admitted that initially when we were sending our articles, poems, or novels, or short stories to different important publishing houses, they were rejected. So rejection is not exactly a failure. Rejection is a stepping stone to success. However, he soon recovered and decided to write an epic novel about India, embodying its past, present, and future. He undertook an extended trip to India along with his wife in preparation. This was his first visit to India in 10 years. He says in an interview that although he wrote the actual novel in England, he could not have written it just sitting out there. Fiction writing needs be traveling. You have to go to places, you have to live with people, you have to interact with people. If you are actually interested to write something very famous or very that would be touching each and every heart, or become a very famous work of art, then you have to have practical experience of places and people. That is what he did. He visited India, he visited Pakistan, spent a considerable, a lot of time visiting a lot of places here and there in India and Pakistan. He also visited places of Banaras, and Banaras, is a very beautiful city where if you go to the riverside, you come to see many interesting people in quest of salvation, Babas and all that. So the Indian writer in England, his essay, Rushdie recalls how on revisiting his house in Bombay, he was gripped by the conviction that I too had a city and a history to reclaim. So this is a post-colonial times. The Britishers were not there, but you know that the kind of history they wrote, the Britishers wrote about us, that was really faulty because they had the Orientalist view of India. They wanted to project the Orientalist view of India. That India is a country of no culture, no history, no books, nothing, as if India was a non-entity in the past. They ignored all the important things of India, and they named the Indian cities and Indian streets, towns, roads after the names of their kings and queens and their viceroys, etc. Mountbatten Road. This even look Ravenshaw College, Ravenshaw University, which is there in Kotak. It is named after Ravenshaw Sahib, a Britisher. I don't say that all the Britishers are bad, but there was a deliberate attempt to colonize the country, the mind of the people through introducing such naming and such gaming of writing wrong histories, so that our children uh, belong to in mentality they become Western. Maybe in color of blood, in color of skin, they will be Indians, but in their thinking, their intellectual makeup, they will be Britishers. That is what has actually, to a large extent, happened today. You find in Indian offices, the officers, the IPS officers are being called Sahib. The IAS officers are being called Sahib. What is this Sahib culture? That is, Sahib is not a native word. Sahib is not nothing native to India. But you see how frequently the word Sahib is being used in our bureaucratic circles. This is very wrong. This is very colonized mind of Indians. So that is what Rushdie was trying to expose, the colonized mentality of Indians. And he said Bombay had a culture, Bombay has a history, so which he wants to write about. He doesn't want to write about um, the British from the British point of view. He wants to write from the authentic Indian point of view, from the insider's point of view. That is how his novel tries to get the note of originality, thinking originally, and talking about the one's own country from a insider's point of view, not from an outsider's point of view. So, as you know, yeah, many people, many Britishers have written about India. Even Jim Corbett and your Joseph Conrad and E.M. Foster has written about India, but E.M. Foster has tried to understand India a lot, and he has given his views in Uh, his novel, um, what is his novel? E.M. Foster's novel. Do you remember? Hello? Are you listening?
Yes, sir.
So, E.M. Foster's novel, do you remember? What is the name of the novel? Hmm? Anybody who remembers? Okay.
No, sir.
So, one of the important novels to come into in English speaking world of the generations is this novel, Midnight's Children. And as you know, Salman Rushdie studied, read many important novelists of the time. Gabriel Marquez, Hundred Years of Solitude. Gabriel Marquez was a Nobel laureate. Gunter Grass, Nobel laureate. Milan Kundera. All these established names in the Western world, actually, their works, their novels, he had read. And critics say that these writers had influenced him, though he doesn't admit it. He says, "No, no, I am not. I have not written anything under the influence of anybody. I have written my own book. Look." But critics
Sir,
have a
the,
habit of hello.
yes, sir, that EM hostess you are asking about the a passage to India.
Yes, yes, Passage to India. In Passage to India, you find the meeting of the East and West is done in the novel. But ultimate, the last scene, this goes in one direction and the other fellow goes in another direction. So that shows how the East and the West probably can hardly meet. And you know about Adela Quested's problem, how she suffered from terrible nightmares, things like Aziz has raped me. Actually, Aziz had not raped her. But to the Western girl, every black person is a potential rapist. That is why she had put an FIR in the police station. But actually, Aziz had not raped her. She was injured by some thorns in the cave, and she came to. So this is how what is the problem with when the Westerners, the Britishers write about us. They write from their Western centric point of view, from their own point of view, Eurocentric point of view, from Europe, Eurocentric. Eurocentric point of view is that we Britishers have come to civilize India. India doesn't have culture. India didn't have any civilization. But look, India is a country which has 1,000 years of civilization. The Harappan civilization, the Mohenjo-daro civilization, the most ancient civilization, the Dwarika. Now you can go to Dwarika and see how Krishna was living there. Dwarika is being it now the Modi government is organizing such things so that you can see Dwarika underwater. So India had a rich cultural heritage and a civilization of its own, which the Britishers wanted to ignore. They tried to overlook it. They didn't want to see it. They underestimated us. That is the problem with the Britishers because they came on a civilizing. Came on a they came for extortion. Came to extort. They came to extort money from us. They wanted to suck. They want to exploit us. They wanted to take our riches away. So we were provided clothes from their cities, and we were not allowed to weave our own cloth. We were not allowed to make salt. So this was the problem. So Salman Rushdie was such an important writer, and the way he presented the history of India through Salim, the entire struggle of India for independence has been presented through the character Salim, and Salim becomes mini India, and through him, he is not an actual life-like character; he is a symbolic character, Salim. And his novel became such a success that after him, Bikram Seth, Amitabh Ghosh, Arundhati Roy, Pankaj Mishra, all have won huge advance royalties from their publishers in the West for pre-publication of exclusive rights of books by Indian English novelists. So this is how he gave a new dimension to Indian English novel. Uh, as you know, in the pre 1980s, when the writers like R.K. Narayan and Mulkraj Anand were trying to write and get their work published, no publisher was willing to publish. But Anand was not his book on Untouchable even was not was and he felt dejected, so much so that he even contemplated committing suicide. So publication issues were there. Even today also, if you are a writer, immediately your book will not be published by any progressive or any important author, publisher. So first of all, you have to prove, and you have to get audience. You have to suppose nowadays who is selling like hotcakes. Suppose you have this um, Tare Zamin Par, who is that writer?
Chaitanya.
Chetan Bhagat is earning good amount of money from his books because his books are selling. The people, boys, young boys and girls are reading their books. Chetan Bhagat is a huge success. But there were no Chetan Bhagats in those 60s and 70s. But 80s, after this Salman Rushdie, even this writer called Bikram Seth got some crores. After Suitable Boy became a success, he got some crores as an advance to write another book. Crores. So Indian writing in English has come away out of that old poverty, and now maybe poetry is not selling much, but fiction is selling very well. And many important writers of India right now. Recently, Kiran Desai, Adiga, the White Tiger, Adiga got prize, and many other Indian Salman Rushdie, Bikram Seth, Arundhati Roy. So these writers are earning good amount of money from royalty. The publisher is giving a lot of royalty and a lot of crores of money coming from writing. So, uh, then Salman Rushdie wrote Same, Shame. Then he wrote The Satanic Voices, his fourth novel. It was published in 1988, for which he had to face fatwas and a lot of problems. But this book, The Satanic Voices, was well received in UK and USA. But initially, it was banned in India because it hurt the religious sentiments of the Muslims and led to riots and killings in Bombay's Bhendi Bazaar. Bombay has a place called Bhendi Bazaar. There were riots. So, because Salman Rushdie wrote against from Prophet Muhammad, and against, or you can say about him in a derogatory way or something, according to them. So, the Satanic Voices was banned in India for some time. Soon it got banned in Pakistan, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Indonesia, South Africa, and countries with large Muslim populations. Because they thought that Rushdie was against Muslims. Ayatollah Khomeini announced fatwa against Rushdie, exhorting jealous Muslims to execute him quickly. So Rushdie went into hiding. Like Taslima also, there was a fatwa against her. Taslima. Taslima went into hiding. And that girl who got Nobel Prize for Peace, that girl who was shot by these people, what do the Pakistan, like Afghanistan terrorists. What is that girl's name? A small girl who got Nobel Prize for Peace. Her books have become very important. She actually was shot by because she was telling something which went against the Muslim people, Muslim religion. So Rasdi went into hiding and lived so far over a decade, changing houses very often. He was living in England. The world was outraged at the imposition of the fatwa. World leaders and writers came out with public statements denouncing Iran, and Rushdie was catapulted into unprecedented fame. Do you know how you can become famous? Once there is a controversy about you, once people discuss against you or about you, you become famous. Naturally, when the whole world, the Muslim population was against Rushdie, his book became famous. Banned books are sold much more. Even D.H. Lawrence's Sons and Lovers, or Lady Chatterley's Lover was banned in England because it had a lot of pornographic details. But look, nowadays, what is happening? Many books are celebrating sex in their books, violence in their books, and the films and some films in your this Netflix and other channels. What is it called? OTT or something. So these channels, these section violence is selling. People want to see that. So this is how, with the world's readers and writers behind him, Rushdie's fortunes seem very similar to Salim's in Midnight's Children. So US writers come out in Rushdie's support, and many international communities come to support Salman Rushdie. And naturally, he became a famous writer. He won the hearts of millions of readers through his writing. So let us come to discuss the novel, but let us take a break of 5 minutes before going into the novel in details. Do you agree?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So for 5 to 10 minutes, you discuss among yourselves whatever you want to discuss, your problems or your solutions, your whatever you want. Then I will come to page. Will come to page. What is page number? 14. 14 or 15. Midnight Children. We'll discuss a little. Okay. Sabida, Sabida, একটা চা দিও দিও ଟିକେ
Sad.
हेलो।
Hello.
आप सबने फॉर्म फिल कर दिया क्या?
नहीं नहीं, मैं तो अभी तक फॉर्म फिलअप नहीं किया हूँ। आप?
हाँ, मैंने कर दिया। ऑफलाइन ही है पेपर्स।
ओह,
Hi, where are you all from?
Let us be back to the class. Okay. Hello.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Are you there?
Yes, sir. We are waiting for you.
Okay. I was also waiting for all of you, but only
Yes,
about
sir.
6 to 7 have left. I don't know where have they gone. Okay. So 15th August 1947 midnight was the time of Indian independence. So Midnight's Children, the title, what is the significance of this title? It draws from the hour of India's independence. Midnight was the hour. At the stroke of the midnight, India got its independence. Okay, at the stroke of midnight, India got its independence, and 15th August 1947, every year we are celebrating freedom or Independence Day. So that momentous hour became this novel, The Children of the Time. Fathered, you understand, by history. They represent the highest of talents of which men have ever dreamed. So those 1001 children. Nowadays, every day, perhaps 2000, 3000 children are getting born. The uh, rate of birth in India today. But at that time, in 1947, it was about 1001 children were born in that night. And it is believed, Salman Rushdie says that all of them had a magical power, a extraordinary power in them, because they were born at the stroke of such a prophetic hour. If there is a third principle, it is the name is childhood dies, rather it is modern. The destruction of the midnight children, which Salim believes is the deepest motive behind the declaration of a state of emergency in India, is the heart of his black story. The magical powers are completely destroyed by the widow, Mrs. Gandhi. So, as you know, this is actually an allegorical novel. Allegory means one story told in the form of another story. O Captain, My Captain by Walt Whitman is an allegorical poem where the captain is Abraham Lincoln and his death has been described in terms. So, if one story is described in terms of another story, that is called allegorical. So, actually, Salim's story is an allegorical story of India. And you know about emergency, during emergency, Indira Gandhi's time in 1970, I think 75, I think, yes. When there was declaration of independence, many there was Sanjay Gandhi and there were 20 economic points. I was studying in class 8, I think. So Mrs. Gandhi said, Mrs. Gandhi had brought about very stringent laws. There were cattle. There is rain. ବର୍ଷା ହେଲା କି? ବର୍ଷା ହେଲା। ଆଁ? ବର୍ଷା ହେଲା। ତୁ ଶୁଖେଇ ଦେଇ ଆସିଲୁ? ଆଚ୍ଛା ଆଚ୍ଛା। ଆଜି କଣ ଗୋଟେ ବର୍ଷା ଆସିଲା, କାଲି ଶିବ ଚତୁର୍ଦ୍ଦଶୀ ଅଛି ତ, ଆଜି ବର୍ଷା ହେଲା, ପାର୍ବତୀ ଖୁସି ହେଇଗଲେ ବୋଧେ। ହଉ। So, 1975 emergency was a very deadly black history of India. You know what happened at that time? People were castrated. Imposition of emergency emasculated, castrated the country. There is actually literal castrations. Castrations, you understand, I think I need not explain it. Castration. Rajni's wit science through his interview in 1985, in which he speaks of how the idea of midnight children came about. He said, then I thought that you can't have just two children in a country like India. It must be more. And if it is more than two, why these two? I did a mathematical calculation about the birthday of India with calculators and worked out that in fact 1,001 children inaccurate. So Rushdie, in one sense, belongs with a novelist who came before him, and actually, you know, in traditional and individual talent, T.S. Eliot has already said, and many modern theoreticians of literature, theories of literature, they say that the anxiety of influence, the character, the literature which you have already studied, or your background study, that also goes into the making of your writing. So, as you know, Raja Rao was very reverential about Gandhiji. Gandhi also figures in Midnight Children, but not so, but as a faint in the historical memory of independent India. How many people nowadays are remembering Gandhi? How many? And that too with a reverence. Many people nowadays love to make caricature of Gandhi. They are criticizing Gandhi. I think neither too much of idealization nor too much of wrong criticism of Gandhi is acceptable. Gandhi was definitely a great man, no doubt about it. Maybe in the political battle against British, there were differences of opinion. There were ideological differences between Gandhi and Nehru. Gandhiji believed in a kind of rural development or village cotton industries. Nehru thought in terms of bigger industries, intensive industries. So there were ideological differences, but that doesn't mean that we should belittle those great people who have. Um, we may be referential or tangentially referential to them, but we cannot afford to be caricature them in a very negative way. The lapse only reminds the reader of the distance between the modern day India and Gandhian ideals. So Gandhi's photographs are being worshipped in every office, but corruption is running rampant in different government offices. Gandhi didn't tell them to do corruption. One new video comes, and in his or her room, you'll be finding that Gandhi or Nehru's photograph will be hanging at the background. But the video would be taking money, corruption money, and video or engineer, whatever, or IS officer, or any damn officer taking by bribery, as you know, is still in practice. This PC is still in practice. Percentage phenomenon that people opposition was talking about. Now that there will be nobody to talk about against it because there will be Gathbandhan. So politics is a strange thing nowadays. It is not the same politics that was there about 70 years back. A sacrificial Gopabandhu was, in a sense, a politician, but he was a different. The definition of politics was different. Now the definition of politics is totally different. It is so rotten nowadays. Politics. It is purely a business now. So the number of midnight children is 1001, and what was the power of the children? The children had exceptional powers to see the future happenings. Okay. So ever since this novel Midnight Children won him the Booker Prize, Rushdie has been a popular speaker on seminars and press conferences. And in his lecture describing reality as a political act, Rushdie described his views on English in a way that recalls Rao's views, though he may have arrived at them independently. He stated that one of the changes has to do with attitudes towards use of English, the appropriateness of this language to Indian themes. And I hope all of us share the view, and we cannot use it simply the way the British did. It needs remaking. Instead, also talking about nativizing English to our interest. So that is what actually we have done. We have nativized English. Our writers, Radha Rao, R.K. Narayan, Jayanta Mahapatra, whoever has written, you can smell the native soil, the native culture, to get the taste of native culture through English writings in the present day. That is what Salman Rushdie did, detoxifying the language or the Indianizing English to our own cultural needs. Empire hitting back, writing back with a vengeance. He says, we are not writing back, we are writing about ourselves. Because in the pre-colonial times, there was writing against India. And in the post-colonial times, there was attacking against Britishers in English. The empire writes back, but now it is a neo-colonial kind of writing, where we are trying to rediscover our roots through the process of hybridization, how things have changed to a large extent. So Rushdie uses hybridized English to depict the situation in the novel. Rushdie is entering the scene of the Indian novel with his Midnight Children, which is a book not about any one region but the whole subcontinent. Subcontinent uses English as a pan-Indian language. Pan-Indian means Pan-Indian means. Do you understand what is Pan-Indian? Pan-Ind.
Yes.
Pan-Indian throughout India. Pan-Indian language and not a regional language. Okay. By using English, Hindi plus English. Lathi charged. Lathi charge is English, not English. In place of one regional language, English is a mixture of Hindi, national language, and English. Many Hindi words have geraud. In newspapers, you find the word geraud. Geraud is not an English original English word. It is a English. It is a Hindi word which has turned into English. So this is how Salman Rushdie has contextually used pan-Indian English to communicate the worldview and emotions of his characters. Um, and Midnight Children shows the way to future writers uh, how to write, how to write about India, how to detoxify the language of its British toxicity. Okay, that was the idea of Rushdie's Midnight's Children. So, what are the themes of this novel? What is the theme of this novel? The theme is the independence of India. Theme is how um, the kind of connection seemed too far-fetched to many readers between India and Indian independence and his writing. Uh, okay. Um, oh, but actually, um, this novel discusses many things about India, number of events and individuals and things of historical importance. For example, Salim's grandparents Aziz and Nasim Sinai on their way from Kashmir to Agra stop over in Amritsar, where Aziz experiences at first hand the Jallianwala
Jallianwala Bagh.
Jallianwala Bagh massacre. Massacre means mass killing. The General Dyer, as you know, who killed the Indian people. What kind of person? He was a monster. And what does his Aziz, Adam Aziz, who has lived through it all, and he says, I quote from the book, as the 51 men marched down the alleyway, a tickle replaces the itch in my grandfather's nose. The 51 men enter the compound and take up positions, 25 to Dyer's right and 25 to his left. As Brigadier Dyer issues a command, the sneeze hits my grandfather full in the face. Yeah, he sneezes and falls forward, thereby giving his life. Red stuff stains his shirt. Red stuff means blood. There are screams now and sobs, and the strange chattering continues. More and more people seem to have stumbled and fallen on top of my grandfather. So this putting, because grandfather had an direct experience of this massacre at Jallianwala Bagh, Jallianwala, Jallianwala Bagh, Jallianwala Bagh. So and yeah, and
But
you know who went to take revenge against huh?
Jallianwala Bagh.
No, who went to take revenge against that Dyer General Dyer?
Udham Singh.
Udham Singh. Udham Singh.
Udham Singh.
So you must have seen how Udham Singh went to take. Yes, Vivek Kumar is telling Udham Singh. So he is very conscious of history. Thank you, Vivek. So this is what General Dyer has done. A great injustice to Indians and left such a black history in India that the forefather also now feels the tinge of that old injury, the great horrifying thought of the massacre, how people were mercilessly butchered, killed by the British soldiers. This is all these things are also a part of our racial memory, which has been blackened by such unjust rule by the Britishers. So this has been criticized, brought into focus by the writer, by the novelist in this. It is as much fiction as any other, and that it should not be seen an objective chronicle of the times. It's not objective history, not a chronological history, but history with its usually linear and chronological narration is not there, but it's a cyclical treatment to history. Wherever it is required, he is reflecting on the historical background. So the novel has history. The novel has political history of the country, Gandhi's assassination, the Jallianwala Bagh story, all the tragic stories, and all these things. So rather, he is not only a historian here, but a historiographer to explain to us what actually happened in the past. Rusdi is very sympathetic about the people who suffered in the past, irrespective of caste, creed, color, and race or religion. On the other hand, it is also meant to capture the most difficult period in India's history, namely the period of emergency. So, it's a satire on emergency. Emergency, as you know, 1975 to 1977, it was the blackest period of India's post-independence times, when Mrs. Gandhi became autocratic and she, to save herself from going to prison, she declared emergency. And Sanjay Gandhi became very ruthless. People were emasculated, castrated, and very bad things, many bad things. Actually, I was studying in ninth or eighth, I don't know, remember correctly, but I had said that this 20-point program is of Mrs. Gandhi, 5-point program of Sanjay Gandhi, who fortunately died in uh, a plane accident. Fortunately, I don't say unfortunately, he should have died. So, so this is what happened during this emergency. And emergency has been caricatured, emergency has been ridiculed because there's a satire about this emergency, which took away the freedom of many people. The Britishers were the colonizers, and again the Indians went into their shoes and they also became kind of sadistic rulers. So, what was the difference between the Britishers and the Indians? The Indian bureaucrats just replaced the white skin. Um, the use of historical material in creative writing dates back to times of the epics themselves. So this is how history has been the important subject matter. But treatment is given is not exactly historical writing. It is writing a book of fiction where history comes as a backdrop at certain points of description, and many important political happenings have been described in the novel from a satirical point of view. You understand what is a satirical point of view?
Younger.
Hello?
No, sir.
Vyanga. That means you are making a caricature, you're making fun of all these bloody things which happened. Um, so as I was telling, the British civilization has been represented by Methold, Methwold. Methold had named the four mansions. Look, during the British time, these people, the rulers, the British rulers, the British viceroys, maybe there are some good viceroys who brought railway to India, who brought postal department to India. Lord Bentinck was a good person. But there were also very bad persons who actually wanted to, especially Mountbatten, I think, was not a good person because Lord Mountbatten insists that India should retain the economic and political framework of the British. And as you know, Nehru became a good friend of Mountbatten and a better friend of Lady Mountbatten, and he wanted that the British framework must continue. Had Gandhi been there, I think many things would have changed. When when the inhabitants are compelled to retain the state and four mansions with every piece of junk within them. So look how the Britishers left with our streets named after the British people, our many of the institutions named after them, many of the places and houses, clubs, etc., named after the Britishers. So gradually there has been a awareness among people, and we are trying to retrieve our original origin, our cultural past, and we are renaming places. Bombay has become Mumbai, Chennai, and Madras has become Chennai. So this is how things are changing slowly, but not in a very. And now IPC and other things have been changed by the parliament. So you know how the British rules, the British laws which were prevalent in India from the that time till today. This has highly colonized our mind. We are British minds to a large extent. That is what is not good about a culture. If you are belonging to a country, you must inherit the culture of the country. You should not be polluted much. You know, you should not be. You may be influenced by other cultures. You may adopt things, but good things from other cultures. Like the Britishers had also good things, some good things in them, and but everything was not good about them. So good things should be accepted. Bad things should be given up. So this character which has been created, Methold is the character. He represents the Britishers, and Salim, as you know, is a combination of all characteristics of India, all the religions of India, and is a hybrid character. And Midnight Children is an allegory where the individual's life and history are offered in a sustained parallel. Methold, the Englishman, is an extended metaphor of British colonization. His seduction of Banita in the absence of her husband and the subsequent birth of Salim, this is what is the meaning of colonialism. By virtue of being in political power, you also gain power over others, the country's women. This is colonization. They not only colonize the country, they colonize the women. The Britisher forcibly has sex with this person. The ruling British officers seduced and raped the wives of poor natives and left behind them the mixed products of their irresponsible sexual union. So Salim is the son of Methold and Banita, a child born out of just such a union and raised by Sinai family. because of his having seen exchanged at birth. So these are the things, colonization, how virulent, violent, obnoxious and dangerous and hateful it was. Colonization, the evil aspects of colonization. So now we are living in a post-colonial time or a neo-colonial time where we are trying to rename our own things. We are trying to come out of this colonial hangover to a large extent. Still, then, I don't think Indians today have totally come out of the colonial hangover. Still, Sahib culture is going on in big offices. They are calling the club, the peon is calling the officer as Sahib. What is this? What is this bloody British culture? And still prevailing in India after 300, 400 years of British rule, this thing is going on. So, Midnight Children is in as much a self-conscious expression of an expatriate writer's sensibility, including expatriate means somebody who has migrated to another place. And Rushdie has always regarded himself as different from earlier migrant writers in the sense of being free from the idealization of nostalgia. If you think about India in a nostalgic way, you always glorify India. No, that should not be the thing. Rushdie says, no, don't glorify. Make things as they are. So he has talked about Bombay and Kashmir, the location of his locale of his novels, in a very realistic way, and the method of satire has been used to write about the political history of India. About so, what is the difference between a historian and a novelist? A historian records facts in a linear way and tries to be as faithful to facts and things which are prevailing in the past through records, through archives, through many other things, the tools. But novelist who makes use of history doesn't write history in a linear way. It doesn't try to write history in a very factual way. Novelist tries to uh, tell about historical past in a very symbolic way. That is what Rushdie has done. Rushdie has talked about fragmentation of people's identities, migrancy. Migrancy means how people from India migrated to the Muslim people from India migrated, partition time, migration, migrancy, and fractured memories. His third theme can perhaps be called the central theme of not just Midnight Children, but uh, through memory, he discusses the sad, tragic past of India, how the people of the Britishers took advantage of the Indian situation and ruled over them, and tortured them, killed them, raped them, and this is while offering them a language and some good things, they have given so many painful things to us, reclaiming a city and a history. He has said, Salman Rushdie has said, that while it is natural for a migrant writer to throw a backward nostalgic glance at his mother country and to imagine that he will be able to recover the country of his past fully, he can never do it because of his physical alienation from the country. The migrant writer can only create fiction, not actual cities, not actual villages, not but invisible ones, imaginary homelands, India's of the mind. So, in retrospect, suppose I write a poem about my village now. Suppose that for many months I have not gone to my own village, which happens to be situated in the on the hills of Udaigiri, about 60 kilometers from this place. So sometimes I stay in Kataka. Sometimes I feel very nostalgic about my village. I want to visit, and some lady wanted to meet me, tell Saroz to come and meet me. I remember him. Why he is not coming to the village? Suppose I write something about my village, I'll be very nostalgic. I may idealize the persons in that village, or I may talk very factually, very realistically about the village. So my way of looking at the village will decide what kind of writing I will produce, whether it will be nostalgic, romantic, or realistic, or postmodernistic. Like this novel is a postmodernistic novel. Because everything, history, myth, religion, culture, all have been given in such a modern point of view where everything has been given due place in their own way, but it is not factual history. It is not pure mythology. It is not pure, say, any kind of narration or story kind of thing. No, not a linear story is told here. Just like Raja Rao's Kanthapura, the story moves backward and forward. So there is no linear story method here also. So these are the facts which make it a postmodern novel and post-colonial novel also, or neo-colonial novel. So, do you know the difference between post-colonial, colonial, and neo-colonial times? Anybody raise your hand? Hello, are you sleeping?
No, sir.
No,
No, sir.
No, sir.
All of you are sleeping.
No,
no,
sir.
sir.
No, sir.
No,
No,
sir.
sir.
I don't know particularly, but I think one is linear and one is going back and fro, like moving to the past and then
No, no,
coming to the
no.
present.
My
Like
point,
that.
my question is, what is post-colonial and what is colonial and what is neo-colonial? Who can say?
Colonial means during the British era, whatever was happening,
Yes,
and
yes,
post-colonial
right.
means
After
post
independence.
after independence, and new colonial
Yes.
means now, whatever is going on now,
Yes, the
presently.
new kind of colonialism or neo-colonialism, that means post-colonialism. That is neo-colonialism. How we are trying to regain our own culture again, back, gain back our culture, restore and retrieve our own culture through memory, through excavations, through archive, archaeological studies, through our own endeavors without listening. Romila Thapar and others who try to write story of history of India in JNU at JNU, they tried to write about the history of India from the insider's point of view. They discarded the history which was written by the Britishers. So JNU professors like Romila Thapar and others, they tried to write from the authentic point of view. What is authentic? Insider's point of view. Because whatever the Britishers wrote, they wrote from the Eurocentric point of view, from their own point of view. They considered themselves to be superior racially, mentally, culturally, they thought they were superior. But that was a hallucination. That was not a reality. India has its cultural, rich cultural past. India has its own history. India has Ahalyabai. India has Shivaji. India has so many great heroes and heroines. India has great scriptures like Ramayana and Mahabharata, the Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads. So these are the cultural heritage of India, which are to be celebrated by us. They discarded because they didn't understand Sanskrit, they didn't understand our languages, Indian regional languages. So they said we are superior because they were politically powerful. They tried to impose all their language and philosophy and whatever they had with them on us. And they tried to colonize our mind. They tried to hold our mind in their power. And we foolish people, we went into their clutches. But after independence, we wrote against them, back to them. We retaliated. We wrote back. Three historians, from historians, you can say the writers, critics from Australia, have Helen Tiffin and others. They have written, "The Empire Writes Back." You came and ruled over us for 200 years. Uh, we want to retort, answer back. You said that this is bad, but this is not bad. You said that our culture is poor. No, our culture is rich. You said that we had no literature. All the literatures of India can be cornered in one small place in the British Library. Who said? Macaulay said. But we say, no, 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 you are wrong. Your English is now being corrected by us. In fact, Oxford University and Oxford children are writing wrong English nowadays. Whereas Indians are writing better English than the Britishers. And I think Nigeria is also, some Nigerian writers have proved how they write good English. Even other countries, they're also writing good things about India. Okay, so these are the things which you should take into consideration while discussing or reading this novel. So we'll discuss in the next time whatever problems you have. Now, right now, if you have any problem, please tell me. You read this, you read about the rest part of the things, okay? And Midnight Children is definitely a historically and famous novel from India, and this will go down in the history of India, Indian fiction for I think more than 100 years or maybe 200, 300 years, like Shakespeare wrote about 300 years back, and now we are reading Shakespeare. So that is the beauty of a great classic. A classic, you can say this is a classic. Um, like any other classic, like Hemingway's The Old Man and the Sea, like so many uh, writers, like great writers from other countries. This writing, Midnight Children, is also a great writing from India. Okay, is it okay?
Okay,
Hello,
sir.
brothers and
Yes, sir.
sisters.
Yes, sir.
Hello,
Yes, sir.
children. Children, are you happy?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Oh, thank you. We'll meet on 11th.
Yes, sir.
11th, 12th, and 13th. We have 3 classes more.
Yes, sir.
And not tomorrow, 8, 9, 10. We don't have classes. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So you remember that we are meeting again on 11th, 4 o'clock. We'll discuss, I think, the stories.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
We
sir.
sir.
will,
Yes,
Short
sir.
story.
huh?
Story,
Yes,
sir.
sir. The short story.
We will discuss uh, the
Short
short
story.
story. On
Yes.
12th, we'll discuss poetry. On 13th, we will discuss Mohesh Dattani. Mohesh Dattani, Tara. But his greatest novel is The Final Solutions. But Tara is given in a course. Mohesh Dattani is a very important dramatist from India. Okay,
Okay,
so
sir.
sometimes I am posting some poems in your WhatsApp. I have also posted my
You
recent
deleted, sir. You
selected
deleted
poems.
it.
Hello,
You deleted it.
I deleted.
Yes, sir. It is not
No, I have not
available.
deleted. Which
The book.
poem? The selected poems.
Yes, sir.
No, I am again posting it. Okay. I don't
Thank you.
know, by mistake might have been deleted. You go through the poems if you like. Okay, and tell me.
Yes,
Maybe towards the end of our classes, and you can. Some of you may write something about it in future. Not right now. In future, you can write an article about it. There are some many articles written about my poetry, and if you like, you can go through them. Right now, I will post it again. Okay, if you are interested, please go
thank you,
through.
sir.
Sometimes individual poems from Poem Hunter also. If you visit, you can see my poems. About 2 to 300 poems I have posted there. Poem Hunter. Just say Saroj Kumar Padhi, Saroj K Padhi, Poem Hunter. You will get the poems. 200 odd poems. And my poetry has been prescribed in some colleges, some autonomous colleges in Odisha. They're also reading. So some Vivek is clapping. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Good night. We'll meet again on 11th or 4 o'clock. Thank you for your patient hearing and goodbye.
Thank you, sir. Good night.
Yes,
Thank you,
sir.
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 Thank you, sir.